We're able to come right now, so thank you. Sorry about that, Katie.
All right, thanks so much, Laura. All right, so we are going to go ahead and dive into Minty first to start things off. And this is just to kind of get a gauge for where we all are today. So in Minty, again, this is optional. Like I said, we have a smaller group today, so we'll just spend a second here on the slide. But if you want to slide the bars to say whether you agree or disagree on these different statements. So I know what strategy scammers rely on. I know how to protect my identity, and I know how to report if I become a victim of identity theft or scams. So just be totally honest, whatever you think, like I said, this is just a way for us to kind of gauge initially where we all are. All right, so if you hadn't already guessed from our statements that we have here, so some of our main key takeaways today are going to be talking about psychology of scams, so kind of some of that background with why we're responding to scams, how to protect yourself, so we'll share some best practices there, and also a lot of really great resources that you can do if you or anyone that you know does fall victim to a scam or identity theft. All right, we have another question in Minty for you, and that is, have you or someone you know ever experienced a scam attempt or identity theft? So you can either put an answer in or just kind of think to yourself, like, has that ever happened to me? Do I know anyone? And it happens to a lot of us, right? It happens to a lot of us, happens to a lot of folks that we know. And so, today we'll share a lot of just things to watch out for, be mindful of, and then also some best practices to protect yourself. All right, so we're going to start off the first half of class getting into scams, and the second half we'll dive into identity theft. But when we're thinking about scams, um, they happen quick, right? These scammers are pretty smart, and so it actually only takes 82 seconds to respond to a scam. So that's the average amount of time for someone to fall for a new scam, and that's pretty quick, right? That's not much time at all. And so the scammers, unfortunately, they're pretty smart, right? So they have a lot of different tactics and things that they do to try to get us to fall for these scams even quicker, right? They're trying to get us to fall for these things before we have time to even really think about what's going on. So it only takes 82 seconds. So what are those things that they're doing? Like, why are we responding so quickly, right? Why are we responding so quickly? It's because the scammers are designing these scams and designing these tactics around stress, urgency, and importance. So they are trying to get the victim to think like, oh, I need to respond to this right now, right? They try to make it seem really important. They put a lot of stress on us to respond quickly. They make us feel like it is really urgent. Like they make us feel that if I don't respond right now to what's happening, then something's going to happen. Like something bad might happen if we don't act on this right away. And so they design these things purposefully, right? They're trying to get us kind of worked up to respond quickly. And it's because of a little thing in our brain known as the amygdala. So the amygdala is located in our brain, and it is responsible for like feelings of and responses related to fear and urgency. And the scammers know this. And so when they're designing these scams and these different techniques, they're trying to get our brains to enter this fight or flight response. Because when that kind of trigger happens in our amygdala, we naturally want to react immediately rather than taking a step back to think through the situation, right? So that's what they're designing these scams around. So when you feel this happening, like the situation might feel like immediate, like you might feel like, oh, I need to respond right now. Or it might just feel like a really overwhelming situation. And you might even notice like some physical symptoms as well. You might notice that your heart is starting to race a little bit, or maybe your breathing quickens some. And all of these different things are happening And our body, doesn't like feeling like that, right? Our body and our brains, we don't feel like feeling that kind of fight or flight feeling. And so we naturally want to react to get rid of this situation. When what we really want to be doing is taking a pause and stepping away from a moment. So if we feel this kind of happening, if we're feeling this pressure, if we're feeling this stress, this urgency for somebody like asking us to make a decision, asking us to provide some information, if they're being like really pushy or almost like kind of like a bully, or if you feel like any of those things, then take a step back, take a moment to think through the situation, to think through what is going on so that we can just come up with a better response, to say like no, like, I'm not going to provide this, or I'm not going to do this, rather than just like immediately like jumping into that reaction. Now, there are a lot of scams out there. There's a ton of different ones out there, but we want to share with you the top 5 scams that you're going to see more than anything else. All right, so those top 5 scams are going to be the imposter, online shopping, prizes, investments, and business and job opportunities. So let's go into each of these things. And I do want to point out that these are listed in order of most common. So the imposter scam is the most common scam that's out there, and then it goes down the list from there. So with the imposter scam, this can look like a couple different things. So it can look like someone disguising themselves as somebody else trying to get our information. So it might be someone pretending to be your bank or credit union and saying, "Hey, there was fraud on your account, but I'm your bank. If you give me your account number, then I can take care of this for you." I just want to point out that your bank or credit union will never, ever, ever ask you for your account number or your social security number, right? They will never ask that information. So a posture scam can look like that. It can also look like a romance scam. So it could look like someone pretending to enter into a romantic relationship with somebody, get the victim to get into this like really vulnerable state, and then they'll come up with some reason why they need money. They have a medical emergency, or some kind of debt that they need to get out of, and then once the victim is in that, like I said, that really trusting point in the relationship, then they're naturally going to give them that money, and unfortunately not going to hear from that scammer again. So that imposter one can look a couple different ways. With online shopping, a common situation for this one is we might see an ad pop up on like our phone or our computer advertising something that we might be interested in buying. We click on the ad, it takes us to wherever it's directed. We put our card information in, make the purchase, and then we wait. And then that purchase never actually shows up. And what happens is, we'll try to like search the website, and then the website's gone because it was a fake website all along. So with online shopping, some things that you can do just to protect yourself is rather than click on the ads, go directly to that website. So whatever the company is that's advertising this thing that you want to purchase, just go directly to the website rather than clicking on the ad. Then you can also do research, like look up reviews and things like that, and to make sure that it's a legitimate purchase. With prizes, sweepstakes, and lotteries, this one, again, the scammers are playing on our emotions. So they're trying to make it sound really exciting, like, congratulations, like you won this prize, or you won the lottery. Oh my gosh. Give me your account number so I can put this money in your account as quickly as possible. And so they're trying to get us excited, and trying to get us say like, oh yeah, like I want my money. And they might even say that, if you don't respond to this like right now, then you're going to lose all the money, right? And nobody wants to lose money. But if that account number gets given out, or that debit card number gets given out, then the scammer then has that information to be able to take our money from us. So ask questions. Well, first, if they're saying that you want a lottery or like a sweepstakes or something, did you even enter a lottery, or did you even enter to win that prize, right? So just ask lots of questions. For the investment scam, this one also can look a kind of couple different ways, but most commonly with this scam, somebody or the scammer will be advertising, hey, I have this really fast and easy way to make a lot of money. So come check it out. And maybe they'll offer like a free investments class at first and then start charging a lot of really big fees for any like future classes. And so, the classes, are phony, right? And so the victims are not actually learning any like good investment techniques or anything, but they're giving this person a whole lot of money. Or the scammer might say, like, give me your money and I'll invest it for you. And then that doesn't work out either as well. So similar to with like the online shopping with this one, if you see someone advertising like investment services or anything like that, like do your research, look up reviews, check the legitimacy of it. And also I hate to say it, but there are no get rich quick schemes that are real. So just kind of be heightened aware if someone's advertising that. And lastly, with business and job opportunities, for this, you might see like an ad for a job. With this one, a lot of times it's for mystery shoppers. That's a really common fraudulent job. There are legitimate mystery shopping jobs out there, but this one can also be a scam a lot of times as well. So they'll say, we'll hire you to do this job. They'll send out a check to get supplies, things that you need for the job, but then you have to send like a portion of it back in a money order. And then what'll happen is that check was fraudulent all along, so it's going to bounce. We're out those funds as well as out the funds that we had sent back to them already in that money order. So again, just do your research. You go directly to those websites, ask questions. But as you can see, like we're not alone. Like those of us that do fall victim to these scams, we are not alone. This happens to a lot of us. So $8.8 billion is how much was reported lost due to fraud just in 2022. So just that 1 year, that's how much money was lost to these things. So big takeaway with class today is don't be embarrassed. If this happens to you, it is like you're not alone. So don't be embarrassed. But today we just want to share things to watch out for, share those resources. And so I'll hand it over to Laura to get into what some of those common signs are that we want to be on the lookout.
Yeah, and I will admit, like a couple of years ago, I definitely did fall for that one of those online shopping ones, and it was a Halloween costume. So very timely remembering that event that took place for myself. So yes, you're not alone. So some common signs that we can look out for and just kind of be aware of, so that way, we have the tools in our belt to avoid some scams. Is if they're mentioning a problem or a prize. So as Katie talked about, like a sweepstakes that you didn't even enter into, that can be something that's like our little flag indicator should kind of go up. As well as pressure to act immediately. It goes back to that amygdala hijack that Katie was referring to. So take your time with this. Nothing is that crazy that we have to respond so immediately. So again, just taking the time to really investigate what it is and ask ourselves those questions. And then pretending to be from an organization that you may know. We are seeing that there have been some where it's like you're setting up a bill pay. And so with this one, it's common, unfortunately, for utility services to get scammed in that way of saying, hey, you have to set up a bill pay. And it looks pretty legitimate because it looks like your utility company, but it's not. So again, just kind of taking the time to pause, go to the actual website that you know for these services and looking up information that way rather than from a link or from them verbally telling you on the phone. So again, just be kind of alert to things. And we're going to talk about how we can kind of spot some of these emails that come to us. So now, spoofing and phishing, they're kind of fun words, but they're not so fun when we get them. So with this one, they certainly can be on the phone or in person, but more often than not, we're seeing them happening through emails and online tools. So just be aware it can happen both on the phone and tools or online. But again, spoofing is when a fraudster will disguise an email address or phone number to make it look like you're interacting with a company. So they're kind of luring you into pushing that button. Where phishing is when fraudsters will use these fake sites to try and lure your victims to giving out information. So the spoofing is them kind of actively going out, sending you stuff, where the phishing is like you're clicking the button and unfortunately giving them some information. So either of these though can give out a lot of sensitive information, whether it's from a link that you click or a login that they're trying to get you to go to. Take the time again to look at what the website is that they're sending you to is, if it's a correct website, a secured website. So to look for that secured one, it's the HTTPS for secured on the website. So just kind of looking at some of those when it comes to your email, hovering over it instead of clicking on it is a great way to see where it's trying to direct you and if it's real or not real. Now, to avoid some of these scams, we want to look into, again, not responding to messages quickly. So taking that time to hover over those links, to really read it, to make sure that it is indeed an email that's legit, it came from whomever it truly is saying that it came from. And then we can block unwanted calls and texts. We can contact the company directly as well instead. Um, Having your phone number on the do not call list is also a great option as well to kind of get some of those scam calls to weed out that way. But again, just kind of monitoring your phone calls and texts too and blocking it when we know that, oh, this was a phishing attempt. So and then ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask them back to them of like, well, who are you? What company are you from? What's your name? Especially if they say they're from law enforcement, asking for like their badge number or things like that can kind of help you kind of gauge if it's a legitimate person on the other end. You can also hang up and then call the company directly as well, especially if you're still not quite sure who the person is on the other line. And then most importantly, we don't want to give out information when it's not expected. So again, financial institutions will never call you for your social security number, your bank account numbers, anything like that. So just be mindful of like what it is that they're actually asking you and why that information is needed for the call that you're having. For instance, like our cable company, they may ask for your address because they want to see if like your area is impacted by cable. That makes sense. But maybe if they're from somewhere else and they don't really need to know where you are, like maybe not giving out that information. So just kind of having that guard up of why and what's going on in the world with it. So if this does happen to you, if you do fall for any of these scams or you realize after the fact, there is help for you. So reporting a crime to ic3.gov. So this is where you can report anything, especially if it was like an imposter or one of those dating type scams. You can also go onto that website too to see what ones are kind of popping up in your area, which is kind of a helpful one. I definitely have gone on there and shared it out with friends and family so they're aware too of like, hey, this is a common scam going around. Just wanted you to be aware of it. So that way when you do get that phone call or email, like you already kind of know, like, okay, yep, that's the scam happening. And then report to the Federal Trade Commission. So this is when any money might have been traded hands. You can report there as well. And then tell any companies who may be involved. So if it was like your utility company that was impacted by a scammer pretending to be them, let your utility company know. So that way they can send out an email to everyone and just making sure everyone's aware that that was a illegitimate email or phone calls or whatever. So again, that way we can protect each other from scams and thefts. So let's move a little bit on though to identity theft. So just a little bit different. So identity theft is really any of us can be targeted for it. So we want to be careful of what information we're giving out to the world, and what permission we're giving to apps on our phones, even for getting some information. So, things we want to be mindful of when just, giving them out to companies or applications is our name, our address, especially our social security number. And then our credit card numbers or and bank accounts can also be utilized um, to get our identity. So just again, being mindful of where we're entering in any of this information. And then the purpose behind identity theft really is to either spend our money, take out loans in our name, credit cards in our name, and to pretend to be us to scam others. That's something that we have been seeing on social media where you might see like, thought I was friends with this person before, but it could be a fake imposter kind of asking for money or help from someone else's friend. So we'll dive a little bit into the different ways in which identity theft can happen. So one way that we may not be very aware of, that we're actually giving out a lot of information is on our cars. So now, I love a good bumper sticker, don't get me wrong. But be mindful of what your bumper stickers are saying about you and if you're keeping yourself safe and your family safe. So in this example here, we have it that like they are a pilot spouse, so they might be left alone often, or they might have a lot of activities with their kiddos who are involved in volleyball or whatever it may be here on the car. So just kind of showing and indicating that, you might be away from the house for periods of time at these activities. Um, and that, we have a family that we're taking care of. But it can also indicate some of our passwords that we might be utilizing. So if you're a marathon runner, and you have that as part of your password somewhere, it might be an easier way for someone to just hack into your accounts with some of the information that's on your car. So just again, be mindful of what you're putting out there. A good bumper sticker is always fun. Just, be mindful again of what it's saying about you and what the implications might be down the road. But Katie, can you dive in for us? What's our best defense when it comes to securing our information?
Yeah, so the best thing that we can do is to secure your information. That's the best thing that we can do is just to not share this sensitive information with folks, that could potentially trying to do some harm. Because unfortunately, there are quite a few of those people out there. So let's go into some different areas where we can secure our information and help protect ourselves. So the first area is physical safety. And so when it comes to our trash can, we might not really think twice about what we're throwing away, but there are folks out there that will do what's known as dumpster diving, which they're sorting through the trash and trying to find documents that have sensitive information on it that they can then use to either try to steal somebody's identity, access a bank account, credit card, or something like that. So, a relatively inexpensive shredder that you keep at home can help with this. So, just shredding any type of documents that do have personal or sensitive financial information on them. But you also don't have to spend any money at all. So, if you check with your bank or credit union, a lot of them will offer shred days. So this is when the shredding company that financial institution uses comes out for one day at some point during the year, and people in the community can bring boxes of sensitive documents for that professional shredding company to take care of for us. So that's at no cost, and so anything that you have around the house you can just put aside in that box so it doesn't go in the trash can, and you can avoid anyone potentially getting our information that way. And then also with our mailbox, I actually know quite a few people that have a lock on their mailbox. So that's a great way to keep any sensitive documents secure that might be coming through the mail. But we can also sign up for e-statements, and that's going to limit how many of these sensitive documents are coming in the mail, and then also going into our trash can. So that's a really great secure way to protect our information as well. And if you know of like any particular deliveries or like like an insurance check is coming in the mail or something like that, just keeping an eye on our mailbox, to ensure that we get those documents as soon as they get delivered to us. But a few more things that we can watch out for with physical safety. A big one is the pin pad. So when we are picking our pin, so our pin is the personal identification number that's tied to our debit cards, which are tied to our checking accounts. When we're picking our pin, we want to pick something unique that's difficult to guess. So we probably want to avoid something like 1234, our birthday, last four of our social. Try to avoid things like that, because those can be easy to guess if somebody knows that type of information about you. So keep it unique and change it up every couple months. But when you're using a pen pad, you can kind of block that so other folks can't see what number we're entering. But also, we want to look out for skimming devices. So a skimming device is something that's placed over a card reader. A lot of times it happens at either a gas station or at an ATM. And the skimming device, if somebody puts their card into the card reader where a skimming device is located, then whoever's on the other end like will electronically receive that card information, and then they'll be able to use that card number to do harm. So some things to look out for is if like the card reader seems like a little bulkier than usual, or if you're able to even like kind of wiggle it, like it's not super secure, then those are some red flags that could be a skimming device on the card reader. So if there's any concern that there might be one, definitely don't use the card reader, and then also let that business know. So if it's a gas station, let them know. If it's an ATM, let that financial institution know, so that way they can take care of that skimming device, take care of situations so that no one else uses it. And when it comes to our phone, so most phones nowadays have some type of a lock screen password, whether it's a pattern or face recognition, fingerprint. Highly recommend using anything like that to protect our phone so that if someone were to get a hold of our phone, they will have a difficult time even accessing it to get to any kind of personal information that's within the phone. But if you want to take it an even step further, start logging out of any apps that you have on your phone. So, like, for example, if someone were to get a hold of your phone, if they were either able to guess the password or maybe we didn't have a password to access it, if they're able to get into our phone, then if they can access apps, like for example, like different like cash paying apps, those a lot of times will keep us logged in. So if they're able to get into our phone, they can then get into those different apps and then, you know, drain that account or, transfer it out to themselves or, do different types of harm that way. So if we want to be extra careful, we can log out of those things when we're not using them. And then also just being aware of our surroundings when we are on our phone. So it's pretty common to, just be kind of looking down, looking at our phone while we're walking around. But the more that we can just be aware of our surroundings, kind of putting our phone away while we are out walking about so that we can notice anything weird or suspicious that might be happening around us, that'll just protect us even further. And then setting up any like Find My Phone apps that allow for device clearing is a really great recommendation as well, just in case anyone does get a hold of our phone. And then just kind of last thing with our phone, we definitely recommend to try to avoid like keeping a list of passwords on our phone. So if we have like a notes app or something, try not to like I know it can be difficult to remember a lot of passwords all the time, but we have like a list of them on our phone, then if someone were to get a hold of our phone or hack into it, they'll probably think that they struck gold, seeing the whole list of passwords there. So definitely practice want to try to avoid if possible. So that's physical safety, but let's look at some online safety things that we can do. So when it comes to Wi-Fi, be mindful of if you're using public Wi-Fi versus private Wi-Fi. So private Wi-Fi would be like a Wi-Fi where you have to like know the password to be able to access it and use it. And so if you are needing to do anything with like sensitive information on our phones, we want to be sure that we're on that private Wi-Fi. The reason for this is because with a public Wi-Fi, like anybody can access it, including hackers. So if a hacker is on a public Wi-Fi, then they could hack into the system and get access to any other devices that are on that public Wi-Fi. So if we're doing something like with our bank account or making purchases, or anything like that that could expose any sensitive information, they could potentially get that. So anything that should be protected, wait until we're on the private Wi-Fi to do those things on our phones. And then when it comes to malware, just doing like regular updates on our phones. So when we get those notifications, go ahead and get those updates done. The more we push those updates out, the more at risk we're putting our devices. So we don't want to push those off too much. And then finding some really good antivirus software that we can install, and that will help protect from any viruses or anything that could be downloaded. And you'll hear us say this a lot, throughout class today, but be aware of those links and attachments. So if somebody that you know, or sorry, somebody that you don't know sends you any type of link or attachment, don't click the link. So if you walk away with nothing else today, don't click the link. Because when we click those links, they could contain viruses that can get downloaded onto our computers, and then that can just cause a lot of havoc. So use extra caution when someone is sending us something that we don't know. Few more things with online safety. So these are some good resources that in programs that we can use to protect ourselves even more. So a password manager is a really great tool that you just have to know the one password to that password manager, and then that program will generate like random passwords for anything else that you have to log into. So every time like you log into your online banking, your password manager creates like a unique random password like for that time. And so every time you log into something, it's doing that. So that can be a really great tool to use. So not only do you only have to remember the one password, but then it just keeps everything else really secure because it's not the same passwords getting used for everything. A two-factor authenticator is also an excellent tool to use. And the way this works is when you're logging into something, it requires two forms of like verification of your identity. So maybe you have a password, and that's the first verifier. So it's your password, and then it'll say, okay, we're now going to send you a text message with a 6-digit code that you have to enter. So then that 6-digit code is sent to you. You can type that in, and then you can access that app that you're trying to use. And so this is great because even if somebody like figures out what your password is, they don't have your phone to receive that text message to get the code for that second half of it. So they would never be able to access that account or those apps or anything. And lastly, using a VPN. So a VPN is a secure network that's created using encryption over a public network. So if we are like needing to work like out in the public or like on our laptops or anything like that, having a VPN creates a secure environment for us to be able to do our work, and anything that's done, on that device connected to the VPN is secure and protected. All right, so Laura is now going to get into some social media safety that we want to be aware of as well.
Yes. And a lot of this translates to what Katie was saying as well. So keeping all of that online safety in mind as well. So with social media, we kind of highlighted it a little bit earlier with that imposter, that someone can utilize a fake or stolen identity to harm others. So a lot of time they are trying to get information out of others, or get them to send them money through like different GoFundMe things or whatever it may be, to try and just kind of create a sense of like, you do know me, like kind of relationship to kind of get whether it's money or other information out of somebody. So again, just being mindful of who you're having as a friend or who you're talking to online can help you in that regard. And then the other thing with that is like checking their profile picture. Have they posted a lot? Or do they only have one post from like forever ago or like really recently? And then followers and friends too, can kind of help you gauge whether it's someone that kind of either falsely took someone's identity or is kind of being an imposter. So do your sleuthing, figuring out who this person is, so that way you can keep yourself safe. And then when it comes to other places within social media, we have like the Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, things like that that either have ways for us to purchase items from others, but also those quizzes can gain a lot of information from us and can be utilized maliciously. So just being mindful of what you're clicking, what things you're kind of interacting with online can just kind of help you again keep yourself safe. And certainly, if money is ever in the question, just kind of doing your due diligence when it comes to looking at these accounts. And then being safe. So when you yourself are posting on social media, just being aware of like when you are posting. I always like to try and post about vacations, things like that, after I've already returned. That way I'm not broadcasting that I'm gone from my home for an extended amount of time. So again, just being kind of mindful of when you're posting can also help you stay a little safe when it comes to social media. Now, y'all heard us talk about this a lot, with email. I can't do this enough. Like, click here, links. Oh my goodness, do not click it. Hover over those links. It'll show you where it'll direct you. So again, never click links from someone you don't know. That's going to be your biggest takeaway today. Don't click a link if you don't know what it's from. And with that, with those advertisements, again, they have those false claims where it may be too good to be true. I admitted earlier, that's what got me, y'all. So when it comes to online shopping, just being a little bit mindful of that. And then it can contain a virus. So as soon as we click on it, it's downloading a virus onto whether it's our phone or computer, whatever we're kind of shopping from. So just being mindful again of what we're clicking. And then going to the website directly, not through the app, can also help make sure that those websites are secure and that it's loading everything properly instead of like being chained and linked to social media. So again, don't click on links. And then look for the HTTPS at the beginning of a website for the S for secure, when you are starting to put in any information, like credit card or your account information. So that way, you know, it's a secure, locked website. All right, let's get on. So for identity theft, um, to know if someone's stolen our identity, we first need to keep ourselves safe by regularly tracking and monitoring things. So that includes our bill statements, looking at our accounts, seeing if anything is amiss with it, and then looking at our credit report. So right now, you can pull your credit report weekly at annualcreditreport.com. So you can check and make sure that things aren't being pulled there incorrectly, and people are utilizing your credit. So again, just look at your accounts, be mindful of what it is, and kind of sit down with you and your family, things like that too, and make sure everyone's staying safe when it comes to identity theft. So If it does happen to you though, no, you're not alone. Unfortunately, it does happen quite a bit, so we want to be mindful and be vigilant when it comes to checking our identity. So if it does happen, report it at www.identitytheft.gov. And then you want to freeze your credit with all three credit bureaus, not just one of them. You want to go to each one and freeze your credit. That way they can't open up anything more within your credit. And then you want to notify companies where the fraud occurred. So if they charged up a bunch to Amazon or to Target or wherever it may be that they went shopping, notify those companies. And then you can contact local police. Oftentimes that way they can give you a police number to give to folks to kind of tie into your claim. And then you want to then begin that repair damage piece. So if you do need help with that, your financial institution can kind of help give you a good guide, ways to kind of build up your credit if this should happen to you. Hopefully it won't. Knocking on wood for all of us. Um, but again, we want to go through keeping ourselves safe. So let's go through our stay safe checklist. So we are going to be mindful and careful about sharing our bank account, our passwords, especially with passwords. They're just cracking down on that anyway with like sharing accounts, like talking to you, Netflix. So that's becoming a bigger issue anyway. But sharing our addresses, debit card and PIN numbers, and then again being careful just with our phone numbers. That so many things are tied to our phone numbers nowadays with rewards and all of that jazz. So just be kind of mindful of that. And then again, online banking credentials. You definitely don't want to be sharing those out because they can get a lot of information from you. And then of course, social security number. Just being really careful when you are giving that out and giving it out for a purpose, not just willy-nilly. So with that, we're gonna kind of go back to those 3-bar questions that we had at the beginning. Just kind of seeing where you're feeling now about these topics. Hopefully you're feeling a little better. Um, but with that, that is the end of our webinar. So we'll hang out for just a little while. Oh, the door prize. I almost
Yes,
forgot.
yeah.
The fun
Yeah,
piece.
so thanks for everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here. And so I am going to do a random name drawer to see who is the winner of our $50 gift card. It's very exciting. And our winner is Courtney. All right, so congratulations, Courtney. We will be in touch with you. We'll get your email from registration. We'll be in touch with getting you set up with your $50 gift card of your choosing. So congrats, and appreciate everyone for being here today and joining us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hope everyone has a great day.